Welcome to the GSMC Business News Podcast, the show dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning business, technology, and the stock market. Get a head start on the day as we keep you updated on the latest goings-on Wall Street, money, jobs, and technology. If you're looking for a podcast to keep you informed and ahead of the game in business, the GSMC Business News Podcast has you covered.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Business Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Moriah, and today we're talking about one of my favorite industries, sports and recreation. Now, when I was growing up, I always figured I would be an athlete. I'm a retired athlete, I like to say. I played a few sports from elementary all the way through high school. I even tried to dabble in it during college. Just other things took over, like my knack for business, my love for entrepreneurship definitely took over my sports dreams. So I took a few classes in undergrad about the industry and how it fares and how it's doing. So I think today is going to be a pretty cool topic. I recently just got back into getting more fit. During the pandemic, business has really picked up for some of the small businesses I helped to operate and manage. So I didn't really have too much time like a lot of individuals had during the pandemic to really get out there and have fun and play different activities and pull out those old skates from the garage, and show their kids how to do this and that. I really didn't have any time for it. But this year, now that grad school is finally done, I do have a little bit of free time now. So this past weekend, I got back into skating. Quad skating, though. I tried ice skating before. It was fun, but not really my thing. I think I'm more scared of the ice than I am the hardwood. When you play sports, especially basketball, you usually got knocked down to the hardwood a few times, so you're less afraid of the hardwood. But that ice, I think that's something different. I'm not as young as I used to be, so recovery from accidents aren't as quick. And again, I am a retired athlete, so have a few sore spots. Every time it rains, you might get a little ache in my knee or something. So with my activities, I definitely have to brace up. I have all kinds of braces and all kinds of workout equipment. So this past weekend, again, I really got back into it, and I had been deciding on what content I wanted to put out for this week. And I really liked the automation that we discussed. And then I liked how a lot of the recreational and sports and leisure industries are adding more automation into their system. So we're definitely going to be talking about that today, how the industry is faring. I got to drop some fun facts. I love to research, so I got to give you my research points. And then we'll get into a few small town or hometown heroes, as I like to call it, and how they're kind of changing the game or doing their fair share during this time. So let's hop right into it today, okay? Again, today we're talking about the sports and the recreation industry, the leisure industry, what it is, what it entails, how it's doing business-wise, and again, how some people are helping to advance the culture, okay? So the industry, it includes so many types of businesses. They offer opportunities for clients, all ages, all physical activities. You'd be surprised some of the demographics in the industry. I know growing up, we really didn't think certain activities were considered sports. We didn't think certain sports could fluctuate between different industry activities per se. So it's really a wide range of just physical activities, and the industry itself caters to those individuals who want to participate. So they cater to normally the general public. But they do cater to some specific audiences as well. And for instance, if you decide to become a franchise owner, say in the sports industry, You could provide different kind of services to clients. So you could be the owner of a fitness club. You could be the owner of an intramural sports club. There is, in my hometown, there's a few different intramural leagues where if you're an adult, it's been a while since you've played anything. It's been a while since you've bowled, for example. You haven't bowled in years, or you haven't swam in years. You haven't swam since your high school swim team, and now you're in your 40s and your 50s, and you want to pick it up again, but you want to do it competitively. A simple Google search will help you find different owners and franchises and fitness clubs who offer those activities. There is one individual I briefly discussed with at a skating rink. She was an ice skater back in her day, when she was younger, so now she doesn't really get to do it as much. But she loves every winter. She can go downtown in Philadelphia, and they have ice skating rinks for the whole, almost like the Christmas, New Year season. And she can go down there, pull out those old ice skates, and and get it going. So those type of specific things, like again, that's a seasonal activity. There's a lot of industry leaders who will do that, so they know for a fact swimming is mainly, if it's outdoors, you're mainly doing that the late months in the spring, all of summer, the early months in the fall, and then it shuts down. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, you might want to take a look into the seasons, see when, that industry does the best. Like something like basketball, for example, that can be indoor or outdoor, so that can be done all year long. So if you're in this industry and you're looking for ways or creative ways to either stay relevant or to offer your clients something that they'll continue to come back to, you may want to pick a specific niche within that industry. So I know today we're talking about recreation and sports and the leisure industry. However, this can apply to any industry. Whenever you're looking to get into a specific industry, you want to make sure you're going for a niche market. You don't want to try and meet the needs of everyone in that market. Now, granted, I know some people who do. For example, fitness clubs. They offer a plethora of activities that you can join. There are your yoga. Then you have, your weightlifting crews, and then you might have, open gym at some places. Now, this is mainly prior to the pandemic. I know now I'm not big on going to gyms anymore. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. So going to certain places where I know it's going to be a lot of touching of things, not a big fan of it. So right now, I tend to stay away from it, but when I was more heavily involved in it, there were all kinds of activities that you could be a part of. And that's because that owner of that franchise or that owner of that club has really sat and modeled their business into their business plan. And they've really looked and saw the best way to structure it that would best, help the public around them. A lot of the times, I know some recreational business leaders, they normally go with what their childhood passion was or what their family loved to do growing up, and they kind of got into the weeds of the industry in that way. There was some type of underlying passion. That's one of the big reasons why I tend to love entrepreneurship, is because it can be passion-based. It could be money-driven. Now, money-driven businesses are not the most fun for me. Having a little bit of passion and seeing me getting paid for that specific passion, it's just more fulfilling than if I were to just go into it for strictly money alone. And I think that's why I love this industry so much, because a lot of these individuals who run these companies and run these brands or these clubs, they truly, truly love what it is that they're offering. Or the team really loves what it is they're offering. I'm not sure if you've ever been to a gym, but you notice the customer service sometimes is just through the roof, because these are real fitness junkies. They're real athletes who really love what they do. And so for them, it's not about the money. The money will come, but it's more so the love and the passion for it. And I think that's one thing in business that I would hate to see go away, is that passion for what you're doing. Sometimes when you love a thing so much, it really, really you can see that transcribed into how they interact, how these business owners interact with their clients. You can just see the look of love and joy on their faces. So again, with this industry, it's definitely something that you want to love doing. If you don't like sports, I don't think this is the right industry for you. They can, and the market for it is, there's really no cap. Now, obviously, there are trends and there's data. I remember there was a report done and it was stating almost 5 years ago. I never like to go more than 10 years in the past when it comes to certain data. Normally, I try to stick around that 5-year span because things change all the time, especially with technology and business. Things are ever changing. Things are ever evolving. And right now we're in the middle of a pandemic and things have changed yet again. But I do remember back in 2016, health clubs had reached an all-time high. And that number continued to rise over time, especially with those born after the year 2000 and beyond. They're more than likely to participate in team sports and outdoor activities. Now, those of us who are a little bit older, the millennials, you have your Gen X's, you have your baby boomers, even some born before the baby boomers who, they still like to hit the treadmill from time to time. They still like to go on those nature walks. Those are the kind of individuals who more so do the fitness clubs. So if you are getting into this business, you want to figure out what generation or what market, what specific niche in your market are you looking to work with, because again, different generations are prone to do different things, especially when you're younger. Again, when I was younger, I was way into the team sport. Like, I was trying to be on every sport that I could possibly, every team I could possibly be on. That's the type of wave that I was on at the time. Now that I'm a bit older, again, it's just a little bit harder to interact with individuals when you're a little bit older. You have life and bills, and a lot of us are married. A lot of us have children. We have elderly parents we have to take care of. So those team sports, we don't really have the time for it. But those younger generations, they have more than enough time, especially now everything's virtual. There's a lot more free time, so you're going to see a lot more activity. There was one club that I was watching on Instagram, and they are virtual. It's like a virtual basketball tournament, and you can sign up in your city, and you go through the rankings through your city, and if you make it past that, you all meet up at certain locations. So I thought that was something pretty cool. There's different ways to really put automation into this industry as well. I think that's one of the biggest new things that I'm seeing in my research. A lot of individuals in this business are trying to figure out ways to make it interactive. They're trying to figure out ways to keep, people entertained. It's very easy to just get lost in your phone and not want to do anything. I know for me, especially after a long day of work and I sit down and I chill, I can get lost in my phone. I found myself getting lost in my phone almost for 45 minutes one day. And I was like, whoa, I had to put the phone down. I felt bad. I'm sitting here wasting time. I'm supposed to be working on stuff. But it's that easy. So maybe getting into this industry may be good for you. It keeps you active. It keeps your clients active. It's definitely money to be made. The growth potential for it. Now, again, with the pandemic, that did get in the way of things a little bit. But according to the CDC, we love the CDC. They are our health experts. Regular physical activity, it contributes to weight reduction, disease prevention, better bone and muscle strength, longevity, just better health in general. And in business, you want to make sure you are healthy. It's going to be early mornings and it's going to be late nights. And I'm still new to entrepreneurship. I'm going into year 5 soon, and it still feels like I'm a baby in this business. It still feels like there is so much to learn, and you are going to be tired. I have noticed, though, the more physical activity that I do, and the more health that I'm aware of, health benefits of certain fruits and certain vegetables and things that when I was a kid, I thought was nasty, like Brussels sprouts. I was not a big Brussels sprouts kid growing up. Now that I'm older, I absolutely love it, especially if you bake it, salt, pepper. I love to cook, sidebar. Maybe I'll talk about the the food industry in more detail next. We did get into restaurants, but maybe we'll get more into the food, the chef industry. I think I like that one. But yeah, being in business, you want to make sure that you're healthy. You want to make sure you're staying on top of things. So being active is very important. And for those serial entrepreneurs out there like myself who want to tap into different industries and want to get their feet wet with different things, the recreational industry, I think, is an amazing industry to get in. There's so many different ways you can scale the business. There's so many different ways you can present this to the public. You can do privately owned. You can do nonprofit. There's so many different ways and different things that you can do, when you're getting involved. And the getting into the money aspect of it all, again, for those younger children who are looking to play team sports, there was a survey done of some parents whose children played in the industry, and those industries, those sports teams are definitely making some good pennies, right? So about close to 60% of parents spent up to $500 per month per child on sports activities. And the highest report was about 1,000. So those are getting into the kids who, they have special practice after practice. I was not that kid. I was, I played for the school team and, you practice on your own outside in the backyard. But a lot of these kids are very, very focused, with the digitalization of everything that we have now. A lot of kids can spend hours online researching and seeing all of these athletes playing different sports and different techniques. So they definitely are going to tap mom and dad on the shoulder and figure out different ways that they can pay for this. And parents normally foot the bill. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish discussing some of the benefits of this industry, how it's faring, and then we'll get into some hometown heroes coming up. All right, stay locked there. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a podcast that gives you all of the latest news from the world of finance? Then check out the GSMC Financial News Podcast. We'll delve into the ups and downs of the stock market, changes in the economy, and news from the world of real estate and technology. From breaking news on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or the overseas market, to updates on the bond market, if there's money to be made, we'll cover it on the GSMC Financial News Podcast.
And we're back again. Thanks for tuning in with us today. And today we're talking about the sports and the recreation industry, how it's faring, what it is, how you can structure your business, different types of business structures. So right now we're just going to get into the different type of structures that you can have. And then when we'll get into, how you can actually get it started yourself if you're looking to get into the industry. And then we'll get into some hometown heroes. Okay. So let's get into the business structure. How can you model your business or your franchise in this industry? So there are boutique facilities. Now, these are franchises such as, your boxing club. You might have a Pilates club. You might have, there's spin classes where you go and you're on this bicycle and mind you, I know I got tongue-tied. I got excited. Those classes are no joke. I'm not sure if you've ever done a spin class, but it's not for the weak at heart, and it's worth every dime. It's worth every dime. Those industry leaders they have a good niche. It can be very difficult getting people to stick with it, because it's so intense. The first beginner's class is very, very intense. So you might want to try, that's another type of structure that you might have. They offer unique special programs, novel workout types. You also have things like, for me, I was in karate growing up. I took classes with one of my Pop-Pop's good friends who was a sensei, and karate for me was very, very fun. I wish I would have been able to stick with it longer, But I started getting more into the other types of, recreational, I guess, business models in this way before I really understood what it was. That's what was happening. I was finding my niche. I was finding what I liked and what I didn't like as a client. Now, as an owner, this might be something that you would want to do. So again, I did karate when I was younger. If I were to ever have my own type of recreational industry or franchise, more than likely it will be some type of martial art, or it will be some type of sport, since I did both. Not necessarily fitness, which is, what we're talking about. It's more so a specific club. So I would probably do martial arts if I were to do something like that. But there's so many different type of studios that you can do. You have your yoga, things of that nature. And that's a $22 billion industry. So that's definitely an industry that you can get into. You can break into at any level, even if you have one machine. You have your cycling machine, and someone else has a cycling machine that you can buy off of them, and you can start your own club. And again, now with automation involved, there's a lot more that you can do. You can hold virtual classes and things of that nature. So again, it's a $22 billion industry. Definitely something that you may be interested in. There's also, I think, the most popular is the children's programs, who, they're very, very small children. So we're talking about babies as young as, 6, 7, 8 weeks old. And so you might take them to get swimming lessons. Those are normally children's programs. I have an aunt who specifically deals with children. If she were into sports, I'm sure she would have children's sports as well. That is her niche. That is what she's good at. She's good working with children. So if she were to get into this industry, I'm sure it would be something for children, a children's program. So they have, little league football, and there's little league baseball, and there's, all these type of little leagues, and that might be your niche. So if you found yourself being a teacher, or you found yourself being good with children, and you're looking to get into business, but you also love sports as well, this might be what you're interested in. This might be what you're good at. And starting children off very young in sports is actually, I would say, it's a very good thing to do, because then when you get into industries like myself, such as business, competition isn't that big of a deal, right? You've dealt with competition in every tournament, every match that you've had since you were a child. Sports can be very competitive, and business can be very competitive as well, especially if you look, there was a meme going around on social media a while ago about different bread, and how in the bread aisle at the grocery store, there are tons and tons of brands of bread. That's competition. They might not see each other as competition. You feel like you're the best. That's another thing about sports, the confidence. So you feel like you're the best at something. Competition isn't as hard to deal with. So that might be something good for your child out there. If they're an aspiring entrepreneur, they might have trouble dealing with the competitive edge of business. You might think about putting them into sports. It keeps them healthy, keeps them active, keeps you focused, and it definitely helps you deal with the competitive edge in business. Another type of structure out there is entertainment. So, not everyone is actually into sports or recreation or leisure activities to compete on necessarily a physicality level. I'm saying like you're interacting with other athletes physically. You're physically touching these other athletes, or there's a physical competition of you batting the ball across the net, like in tennis, with golf, things of that nature. You're not actually physically, you don't have actual equipment, but you are into fitness. So what you'll see is some things like, a bounce house, for example. So you can go and have fun. You're still active. You're still having fun, but there's no actual competition when you're at the bounce house, right? I remember going for a nephew's birthday. We had a ball. I'm always the adult that you'll find with the kids outside in the bouncy house. I'm quick to kick my shoes off and go run in there. And kids are honest, right? They'll let you know, like, if you're not cool enough to get in the bounce house, they're like, why are you in here? You're too old. But for me, the kids love me. So I tend to always do things like that. That is a type of leisure activity. You'd be surprised how calming and how relaxing it is, and how much fitness it is. To be able to bounce back and forth, it doesn't sound as difficult as it really is. But if you've been to one of those type of places, It's definitely a lot of physical activity, and those type of business structures are very, very good. Again, children love activity. And there are different ways you can set up your business because a lot of children like to have parties there. A lot of parents like to throw parties for their kids there. I've seen adult after hours at bounce houses before. So there's different ways that you can make money in the industry. Entertainment, everyone loves to be entertained. If they tell you they don't, tell them to holler at me. I would like to talk to them because everyone loves entertainment, right? Entertainment in the fitness industry, it definitely has its advantages. It makes it more fun, more appealing. So that might be a structure that you're into. Then you have your intense type of trainings where, again, like the cycling, that is it's very, very intense. So, it gives the same style of the boutique type of facilities. But it's more so it's more intense, right? So you might have karate where karate, it can be intense. I can't give it the, the highest intensity level though. Not when I was in it. Now, again, things change. So things in the industry might have changed. But that, for example, that's more so a small scale calming, like yoga, for example, those type of boutiques. Intense training is like boot camp. So I have a cousin, shout out to my cousin, who is a fitness guru, and he does boot camps. I know during the pandemic, he did some live boot camps. I know some fitness experts who were doing different type of boot camps virtually, and they were able to charge a certain fee. You had to sign up, you had to pay a fee, and then you were able to join either a Zoom class or you were able to join, a private page who might have went live, and, you all can work out together. You build bonds that way. So those type of intense trainings, where those clients are challenging themselves with different equipment and styles, that's an intense training. So if you're like a fitness junkie and you love to help other people, and again, you're looking to get into business for yourself, an intense training type of franchise might be the one for you. And then there is the travel and the outdoors. So what do I mean by traveling outdoors? I'm talking your true leisure activities. I'm talking about cruise ships, different type of outdoor type of experiences where these owners are using their expertise in their area. And they more than likely are good with travel and travel planning. You might be a travel agent who helps certain clients who are fitness individuals locate trips where there's a lot of physical activity that they can do. There might be, nearby basketball courts that they can play on. There might be cycling clubs nearby. There might be some boxing clubs nearby, things of that nature. So again, the sports and leisure industry, although when people think of that, they think of recreation, sports and leisure, they automatically think of maybe basketball or football. That's not the case. This industry is so widespread that you can literally be good at anything else and apply it to this business. So again, like the example, if you're a travel agent, but you love sports, you might be able to creatively make it your own and do something like the cruise ship. There are, for example, there are different type of camps and resorts that you can go to. You might be the one that looks it up. Again, those children's clubs, you might be good with kids. You might want to plan a camping trip, and it might be, for children to get physically fit. I don't like to call them fat camps. I think children grow at their own pace. And so these type of clubs that you might be able to create for children to feel better about themselves, to be more, again, that self-esteem, because you never know, you might be raising your future entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And more than likely, I guarantee you, if you talk to a room full of entrepreneurs, a large percentage of those entrepreneurs have definitely played some type of active sport growing up. At least in my experience, I charge you to do your own research, right? All right, so we're going to get ready to take a quick break. Again, we just discussed the different types of business models for this industry. Again, you have your boutique facilities, you have children's programs, you have your equipment market. So you might not be good at the actual sport, but you might be able to actually sell the equipment. You might know someone who does sell equipment, and that's how you can create your boutique facility. Then you have your entertainment, like your bounce houses. Absolutely love them. Then you have your intense training. your boot camp styles, and then you have your travel and your outdoors, which is more so leaning into the leisure activities like cruise ships. If you notice, they have gyms on the ships, and that industry is actually getting ready to get back into the full swing. I know they're waiting on some vaccinations, some government regulations to lift, and I believe that section of the industry is getting ready to see some growth and, definitely a pivot right now. So again, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into how you might be able to start your own business in this industry, some different keys and things that you need to know, and then we'll get into some hometown heroes, all right? Stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Do you work in the world of marketing and advertising? Are you a media buyer or the owner of an agency? Have you been looking for a podcast to help stay on top of all the goings on of those worlds? The GSMC Marketing News Podcast is dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning marketing and advertising. Get the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast has you covered, whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand.
And we're back, and today, again, we're talking about the recreation industry, how it's faring during this time. With the pandemic, the industry has definitely seen some impacts, and that is because a lot of activities had to be closed. For example, we discussed the different types of sectors within the industry. For example, like fun houses or bounce houses for children. Those type of activities have been closed. A lot of gyms were closed down, especially in my area. Other states, again, depending on the regulations and the CDC guidelines that they chose to follow, they were able to reopen gyms right away. But for a lot of places, these type of activities have been closed. So the industry has definitely seen some impacts during this time. However, the industry in general that's finding different ways on how to navigate during this time. Again, in the beginning of the week, we discussed some automation. If you haven't checked out that episode, make sure you do so. A lot of industries are starting to add automation, a lot of artificial intelligence, different systems. There's, a lot of people hosting virtual events right now during this time. So there's definitely some ways that you can get involved. And that's what we're getting ready to get into right now. How exactly to start your own recreational business. It can be difficult when it gets down to promotion, but getting it started is fairly easy. So recreational or leisure industry businesses, they run the whole sector from you have your amateur clubs to, huge parks. And you can really typically do this anywhere. Again, with artificial intelligence, you can do it from your home. But normally, in the past especially, there was some type of outreach program in the neighborhood, some type of gym, some type of educational background, like a degree in sports management or business management for that matter, getting certain certificates, getting licensed. Those are normally what those leaders tend to have when they're getting these businesses started. And what you're doing is really a great thing for society. In business, we oftentimes can be worn out. We can get tired. There's a lot of hustle and bustle that goes on. And staying active and staying fit is very important. I know a lot of business owners, like we spoke earlier in the episode, they played sports when they were younger, or even now they have workout regimens that they stick to daily. I know one entrepreneur who wakes up around 4 a.m. So he goes to sleep pretty early. I want to say around 8 to 9 o'clock the night before. He tries to get in the bed so that he can get up by 4 a.m. Really wake up. He meditates. He does his workout. He has, his daily cup of tea that he drinks. Lots of water, fruit, those type of things. His workout is very strict. He does that about 3 times a week. And so he says that, the rest of his week is filled with a lot of energy, and he really has a lot of time to get things done. Now, in that case, for me, I think, that's pretty early. I'm not waking up that early, but I have in the past for certain jobs, I have gotten up that early in the morning. Because, in order to commute to work, you just have to be up by a certain time. So I have done it I was forced. It was not by, it was not by my own will. But if you're one of those type of people, you think that is good for you, and you could see yourself opening a gym at maybe 6 in the morning, maybe 4 or 5 in the morning for those early risers, then, this might be the industry for you. For me, I can't see it. But again, there's a lot of individuals, especially now with the pandemic, who are more into getting active, getting fit. They're looking to join the industry since they spend so much time, they spend so much money. Even if you're purchasing stock in certain equipment that's getting involved, even if you start, a YouTube channel that discusses different athletic equipment, different athletic companies and the stocks and the fluctuations, that's a specific niche within the stock market that you could tap into. So that's one idea. And then, there are just several things you want to consider first before really diving into having your own sports, recreation, leisure industry business. You want to get as much experience as possible. So again, remember we talked about having certificates, getting educated. Everyone doesn't have time for school. Everyone cannot afford school. You might be needing to start a business so you can pursue education. There's a few different moving layers when it comes to it. So you might want to gain some experience the easier route by volunteering for summer camp or volunteering at your local gym. Again, I know a lot of places are beginning to open up and starting to really, see that, okay, we can open to this capacity and we still feel pretty good about it. I know there's some clubs and some gyms downtown who there's literally lines wrapped around blocks to get into the gym. So the industry, while it's seeing an impact, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, in my opinion. So because of that, you might want to start getting involved. See how you can be the one who takes, the numbers and the lines at those facilities. You might want to join, again, a local rec center and maybe volunteer there, get to know the staff and things of that nature, kind of see how you can pick their brains. Again, we live in, technology-driven society. You might want to look up some names on Google in your local area or beyond of who you admire. And begin to learn from them and glean from them. You can even connect on LinkedIn, Instagram. I know a bunch of fitness people are, on the TikTok wave as well. So you just want to use your resources around you if you don't have time to really, or the funding to really get educated the traditional route. Nothing wrong with taking new ways to get that experience under your belt. And then again, you want to choose that specific niche, right? So think about the program or service that you've used before, or something that's already available in your area. I would say that's what you don't want to do. Or if you see that there's a need in that area, that's something that you might want to get into. I just think finding the one thing that you have the most experience in when it comes to this industry and really sticking with it is pretty important. I know as a young athlete, I always looked up to the coaches with their private leagues and their tuition-based leagues and things like that. I always looked up to them because they had a true love for this sport. I knew they had years of knowledge and years of experience. Even as an adult looking to get more fit and get healthy and working out, I always tend to look to the industry leaders because being a former athlete, you do understand those who have been in it the longest, always just have the most knowledge. The newcomers are also great as well because, again, they're the new, innovative type of individuals. Sometimes you do like to lean on the industry experts. So get as much education as you can and then find that specific niche where you just know what you're talking about. In your sleep, you can discuss this. You can run this type of operation. You can run this type of facility. You might have experience running nonprofit, different type of organizations, and you do have experience in sports or leisure or recreation as well. So you definitely want to, check into that also. And then from there, you want to begin to really grow within that niche. Start to learn the the people around you, the people who are in it with you. Those are normally the ones that you can lean on. Just kind of grow your information from there. Sometimes you might want to take a look at the competition and see how they're running their operations. And that's how you can kind of learn the good and the bad, what to do and what not to do, right? So find your niche. You might have great experience playing lacrosse or football, and you have a local rec center who you can rent the rec out for. You can start your own league that way and kind of get experience. It's kind of easier when you're working, I would say, when you're working with kids. I know a lot of individuals who get started with the kids because it's just a little easier to teach the foundations of a thing. You might even want to do an adults beginners league, things of that nature. Now, if you have the experience and you can go full throttle right into, some high level activities, some high level gyms, some really advanced fitness clubs, and I say go for it, especially if you have the financial backing and you have the capacity to hire a certain amount of experts and things of that nature. So go with what fits your budget. If you're just getting started, maybe look into some kids leagues that you can get started, with and kind of build from there. Or, if you're already at the expert level, you may want to get started right there. So again, find your niche, get that experience, find your niche, and really lean on what you do and your knowledge and your expert level, right? So down to the serious business side, not just, the fun side of it all. You have to get your paperwork in order. I know when growing up, my mom used to get on my nerves so much when she would say it, but she always would harp on having your paperwork in order, making sure things are correct, making sure you're going over paperwork to make sure nothing has changed. So I say all that to say, make sure your permits are in line. If you're renting out that rec center, make sure you're permitted to do so. Make sure the right staffing is there. Make sure you have the right staff and that you're paying your staff accordingly and that you have your payroll information together, your certificates. You want to do either a sole proprietor, start off with that, an assumed name, or in PA, I know we go by DBA or doing business as, and you can register your business under that. You more than likely will have to get your sales tax permit, and I know in my city you have to have your activities license, and your seller's permit. Say you wanted to sell t-shirts and things for family of those who are participating, or for those customers who may come to your fitness club, and you want to sell them items. If you want to sell plans and subscriptions and things of that nature, you definitely want to have all your paperwork in order. If you're doing things that involve water, for example, if you are getting into business and you're starting a swim club, you definitely want to have all of that information lined up. You want to have those helpers on standby who can get in the weeds with you if things get a little sticky. If you have to get individuals out of the building, for example, you want to have your lifeguards on staff. You want to make sure you have your CPR individuals on staff, things of that nature. So you just want to make sure all your paperwork is correct and all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. And then I would say the best part, or one of the most fun parts, is the promotion of the brand. So you have your experience, you've picked your niche of what you want to do. You've got your business plan outlined. You have some investors, for example. You have some individuals really beginning to rally around this business idea. You went about purchasing a facility, you've went about renting out a shared co-space. There's many type of shared spaces that you can rent. A lot of cities have different studios that you can rent per month or on a yearly or a quarterly basis. So you have all of that figured out, right? And now it's time to hit the ground running. So this is where I want to say those around you in this neighborhood, because when you're doing recreation and sports and leisure activities, normally these are the things that are local. So you want to make sure you're actually reaching out to your community and to the leaders in the community and really growing this network, because you're going to be a newcomer. And, people go to their favorite gyms. People go to their favorite fitness clubs. People go to their favorite recreational activities all the time. You always tend to go to the favorite spot. Like I was stating earlier, I'm getting back into skating right now. I have some free time. I wanted to do something fun, something different. I've played a lot of sports. I've never really took the time out to really learn the art of skating. So I can skate, but it's not, nothing to write home about, right? So I go to the skate rink that I feel most comfortable at. I've been there plenty of times, went there as a kid. So I'm comfortable going there. So if someone were to come and create a new skate rink in the neighborhood, I would definitely want to hear, I would definitely check it out, because I have a business mindset, so I want to go see how they're operating it. That's kind of how I lead with new businesses that I want to check out. I want to see how they're doing things differently, but I would still be loyal to where I normally go. So when you're breaking into this type of industry, you definitely want to get the community rallied around you, because people are going to be a little skeptical of the new. We like to go where we're comfortable, especially when you're working out or you're being active. You're sweating. Sometimes you're looking crazy. You might have on some frumpy sweatpants and stuff like that. So you want to be comfortable, and going somewhere new or dealing with someone new can be slightly uncomfortable in the beginning. So getting fit into that neighborhood, that community, that center that you're in, that's very, very important. You may want to link up with for example, there might be a local fashion artist who specializes in athletic gear. You might want to collaborate with them or have them host one of their classes if they're connected to a workout guru or fitness agent, I like to say. If there's some type of connection that you can pull together, you might want to have them host their events in your new space and have them tag you on social media, and you guys tag each other, almost kind of like a bartering situation. You might want to get that rolling so that people can see, okay, they're a member of the community. We should give them a shot. You want to just build off of that community service. See who's contributing in your area. Donate some gift certificates to a local Boys and Girls Club. For the summer, they can come to your club, or that you might want to go to, some local events that are happening. I know on social media, there's a lot of activities that goes on. All you got to do is type in the city and a certain, activity that you're looking to do. You can definitely pull up some different information. My go-to is always Twitter. I always find out what's going on from Twitter. So that's one resource that I would use. LinkedIn always has different events coming up. So there's a few different ways that you can go. Get active, get acclimated with the community, really get involved. Again, those gift certificates go a long way. The gym memberships for half off, those type of things. So that's about that business plan again. You want to definitely make sure you're factoring that all into your business plan and your business structure. How are you going to attract customers? What's the customer retention plan and things of that nature? So getting involved with the community is definitely important. And, different type of promotional strategies. Social media is the biggest thing. Make sure you're putting ads in different places. Google ads is always good. Paid ads are always good. A lot of people don't like to pay for ads. But in my personal journey, I have definitely seen growth in business because of those type of ads and things like that. So make sure you're factoring all that into the business plan, get that structure right so you can get right into the game, right? You want to get into the ball game, make sure everyone's really enjoying your brand, being that personable person in the community. All of that's very important when getting started in this industry, okay? So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into my favorite part of the show, the Hometown Hero. Stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey everybody, and we're back. And again, today we're talking about the recreation and fitness and leisure industry, how it's faring during the pandemic. And we've all known we've seen hits in a lot of different industries, and the fitness and the recreation and the leisure industry has definitely seen a hit. It's been some difficult times for a lot of businesses, and particularly this industry has seen some hard times. As we all know, in the beginning, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, I want to say almost every industry saw closings. Some businesses have failed to reopen. Some businesses are closed for good. And it's been pretty hard for the small business owner to really prevail during these times, when the revenue and the budget just isn't where, some big names are. For example, Planet Fitness, they were able to reopen when they were able to reopen, close when they were supposed to close. I haven't really seen any problems with them. I've seen them getting, more and more memberships as time is going on. And that's wonderful. And for those smaller businesses who may not be able to move with it, as the regulations are being lifted, and they might not be able to shut down without seeing a huge profit loss. That could potentially close their doors for good. So to see certain businesses still be able to survive and thrive during this time has definitely been an inspiration for me. So I love Hometown Heroes. It just really shows who's really moving and shaking and who's catching the eye, of those around them. Especially me, I love to look around the country and around the world to see what businesses are doing awesome during this time. And the first business that I stumbled upon, it's called Snap Fitness, and it's in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And the owner of the fitness club, he goes by the name of John Forrett. He is the owner. He was interviewed, and he was just saying, he's had a few people join, and they're calling and asking about memberships and inquiring about different things. There's been certain capacity restrictions, but he hasn't really seen where, it was too big of an issue. And they're not the type of gym that has a bunch of people in a small area. So whereas in certain industries, you can definitely see a change in the capacity because of the large amount of traffic that they receive. Snap Fitness doesn't get that much traffic in the same way. They get a lot of members that come in and love their facility. It's just not on the same scale as some other industries who, they're seeing a huge loss when they close their doors to 50% capacity. So what they've been doing during the pandemic is offering online classes, and just trying to make people feel as comfortable as possible during this time. They're very active on social media. They have their tips that they give, like their 10-minute ab workouts. They've hosted online classes, especially for those at high risk, like your senior citizens, and children, things of that nature. Those high risk type of groups. They have been definitely holding some online classes, so you don't have to come to the gym, and you can still get the same type of fitness and workout going on. And, just watching their social media, just seeing how they're staying, within the time, offering those, words of encouragement, the daily motivation. I love that kind of thing. That's really how to keep your customers engaged. A lot of individuals are heavily on social media from every generation, different age groups. You can see everyone is always in their phone. So being able to access your business on social media, being able to go to a website, being able to physically call, and having online options. I think that's just a great way to cover all your bases. So shout out to Snap Fitness in Lake Charles. I think what they're doing is pretty awesome. The next hometown hero we're going to get into is located in Boston, and Joe Roberts, he's the operator and owner of Terrier Sports. And during the pandemic, he makes sure that he is continuing to offer healthy spaces for children to come play and have free play. He was interviewed by the local news, and he also mentioned how when the children first came back, they were kind of in a daze. So as we know, during the pandemic, a lot of things were shut down, including schools. And during those crucial years when children are little, they have recess for a reason. If you have kids or nieces and nephews, if you don't keep those little legs moving, they will run up a wall, literally. So during the pandemic, recess was not an option. Going to facilities and playing with other children wasn't an option. Remember, we talked about those fun bounce houses. Things like that just wasn't available during the bulk of the pandemic, especially during the year 2020. And what they've done at Terrier Sports is they've been able to give those same children who had, some time away from other children, they weren't able to play just yet because of capacity issues. I definitely gave them the opportunity to come and play. But what he noticed was when they first came back, they were almost still stuck in that pandemic, shut-in type of mindset where they really weren't able to interact. I've noticed as well when I've gone to certain places where children normally play, it's definitely a different environment. When we were little, in my age group, you would stay outside all night until your mom or dad said it was time to come in, or the street light. But you could just get out there and get in the swing and just play. Well, with the introduction of technology and the phones, and, the kids have just been playing video games and have been in their phones all pandemic long, it's kind of hard for them to get back into the swing. So I like what they're doing at Terrier Sports. It's most of the instructors are children themselves. So you have some middle schoolers, high schoolers, and those like fresh out of high school who coach the little kids, giving them those social interaction skills that they need. Again, a lot of those type of things do come from group activities such as sports and leisure activities. So to see these kind of local gyms and clubs really defying the odds and being able to continue business operations, even though there has been some great losses during this time, a lot of these individuals have been able to withhold and withstand, the current that's coming in. The pandemic has definitely flipped a lot of industries upside down, and really trying to stay focused and trying to remain locked in so that business operations can still function as normal has been very difficult. Again, a lot of businesses have had to shut down during this time because of that. So these hometown heroes, I just always love to hear the stories about them because, during this time, it's really hard to stay optimistic, especially when you don't know what's going to come next. A lot of the regulations that are coming in, it's 50% capacity. It's maybe 25% capacity. Maybe you're not able to operate just yet. A lot of states are in like a steady state of being in yellow where they're not fully open. They're not fully closed. They're kind of taking it as they're going. Those type of industries are seeing some of the worst hits, and the recreation, the leisure, the sports industry is definitely seeing that type of hit. I know during the beginning of the pandemic, I like to go and, shoot a few free throws, see if I can still shoot a three. And you trying to find a park that actually had nets on them. It's pretty difficult because, if there's a net and a ball nearby, it's just very tempting for athletes to just go and, get a pickup game going. So in order to combat that, some certain cities and townships were definitely doing their due diligence to keep people safe, even though it was coming off as, not fair. And what about the children? Everyone's really concerned about their health right now, which is an amazing thing. But, finding a court with a net on it had been pretty difficult. A lot of local fields that you can just go and play at and you don't have to pay anything. They had chains around the gates to keep, try to mitigate individuals from going into those areas. You would see some kids who were able to sneak through, or maybe they found a hole in the gate, towards the other side of the field. They were able to figure out how to get in there, especially when it snowed, figuring out different ways to play. Adults were getting cabin fever, but kids were definitely getting cabin fever as well during this time. So again, it's really cool to see the clubs like Terrier Sports really trying to figure out different ways to keep the children active. I know a few teachers during this time who have gotten into the swing of making sure their kids are active during class. So they might take some time out to, tell them to stand up, stretch, let's do some working out, let's get fit, things of that nature. So if you're in this industry and you see that need, or you're new to the industry and you see that need as well, you want to pay attention to the studies and the cases like this. This is great research for business. I'm always a fan of researching a business before getting involved. Always doing your market research, always making sure you're aware of what's going on, the different trends, the different needs within other industries, and then figuring out how you can fit. I think all of that is so well. So again, shout out to all the hometown heroes. Your work never goes unnoticed. And that wraps up today's episode. Again, today we talked about the recreation industry, my favorite industry. I could really talk about it all day. It's just really fun to see how innovative everyone is being right now, especially with artificial intelligence being at the forefront because of the pandemic, and just seeing how some businesses are faring during this time. Thank you so much for listening today to the GSMC Business Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would just love to thank you all for listening, leaving reviews. If you have done so, if you haven't done so, make sure you do. Make sure you give us some stars. Let us know how we're doing. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. The Business Podcast is always tweeting different articles that you might want to check out, some stock information, different industry trends. So make sure you're following us on there. Again, thanks for rocking out with me today. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
You've been listening to the GSMC Business News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type GSMC into your favorite podcast app to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Please subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.